and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Leah, I'm a physician assistant, and today we're going to be talking about public service loan forgiveness. Did you just graduate from a really expensive college or master's program and you are just swimming in student loan debt, and now you find yourself in a job that qualifies you for public service loan forgiveness? What do? Do you enter into that program or do you opt out of that program? That is such a great question, and honestly, the answer is going to be different for everybody. It depends on a few things. I'm going to break that down in this video. I'm going to tell you my experience with the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which I will be referring to as PSLF for most of this video. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to navigate that program, and hopefully this will help you decide if the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is right for you or if it's not right for you. I think this is a really important subject to talk about right now because a lot is going on involving student loan forgiveness and loan forgiveness in general. Over the past 7 years, I've picked up some really important tips. I really want to share them with you so that you don't make the same mistakes that I've made. Luckily, I learned from those mistakes, and hopefully it pays off in about 3 years from now when my loans are forgiven. So let's dive in. Is PSLF worth it? And the answer is maybe. It depends on a lot of different factors. So if you're just not sure what to do, watch my video. I may be able to help you. Okay, first we need to talk about what the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is. The PSLF program began in 2007. So the first people to qualify were not until 2017, after 10 years of payments have been made. After you make your 10 years of payments, you then have to apply for the forgiveness. Here's what you need to have in order to even qualify for the PSLF program. First, you have to have direct government student loans. Second, you have to be employed full-time by a company that qualifies. That means a U.S. federal, local, or tribal government or a nonprofit organization. Fun fact, most hospitals do qualify as nonprofit organizations, which do qualify you for the program. This does not apply to part-time employees. You must be approved for an income-based repayment plan. That's a repayment plan that's based on your income. So your payment each month will be based on how much money you make. Lastly, you must make 120 qualifying payments. That's about 10 years if you make all of those payments consecutively. However, these payments do not have to be made consecutively. So right there is the list of things you need to qualify for this program. Now, I'd be doing you a big disservice if I did not mention the drama that has been going on with this program. There's definitely some conflicting information. I have read so many articles on this subject. Each article says something a little bit different, but here's basically what's going on. Only 2% of people actually get forgiven. Now, take that number with a grain of salt because a few articles have said that now it's up to 5%, and I promise you, somewhere last year I read that it projected up to 12 to 15% in the coming year or so. I have had 2 coworkers, fellow PAs, with similar amounts of student loan debt who just recently were fully forgiven. This is a really good sign, you guys. It gives me hope. Now, if you are not in an income-based repayment plan, you do not qualify. However, they did add something last year called the Temporary Expanded Public Service Loan Forgiveness. And this is for people who didn't really understand or didn't know that they qualified. Now you can submit an application to have the payments that you've already made be counted towards this forgiveness plan. So we're going to talk about if this is worth it for you in a second, but first I want to go through a few more things. Since COVID began, we have not had to pay our government loan payments, but these payments that we would have made during this 1.5-year time span are supposed to count towards your loan forgiveness. So if my calculations are right, that's about 17 payments. That's a lot that could count towards loan forgiveness that you didn't have to pay due to COVID. Thank you very much, government. Now let's see if they hold up their end of the bargain. Now, something really important literally just happened. The Biden administration has decided to ask us, to ask the people, what our experience has been with this program. Anybody can write in. I'm going to put the link below. This is basically because so many people have been screwed over by this program so far. And a lot of us, including me, have been in it for at least 5 years. And it's kind of like, do we get out of it now, or do we just stick it out and hope we're forgiven? I mean, if it truly is 2%, that's a pretty low chance. And if they don't forgive the money that's still in my account at the end of those 10 years or those 120 payments, that will literally change my entire financial future. I have a lot riding on this, as do thousands of people who are in this program. You may be wondering why I signed up for this program in the first place. Again, the first people to actually apply for forgiveness were not until 2017. So when I opted into this program back in 2013, I didn't know that they were planning on denying 95 to 98% of people. I mean, even now that sounds crazy, and it is crazy. Hence why the Biden administration is finally looking into this. Hopefully this means that they will do something about it very soon, because a lot of people are just sitting in limbo with their loans gaining interest. Okay, so let's get down to it. Is it worth it to be in the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program? Like I said before, maybe. And here's why I say maybe. Everybody's situation is different. For example, when I first graduated school, I had $160,000 in federal loan debt and another $100,000 in private student loan debt. Yes, I know I made some interesting choices, but my parents didn't qualify for government aid, but they also did not have the money to pay for my tuition. Therefore, lots of student loans. These loans were from both undergrad and PA school. So the first thing you need to do is math. I'm gonna show you how I do the math. It's really easy. There are a ton of loan calculators online that are free. I'll record my screen right now and show you how it's done. Okay, it's finally recording. So what you're gonna do is go into Google and type in the loan calculator and just scroll down to one of the free ones. So many places have free loan calculators. I chose this one, finaid.org, clicked on it, get down to the loan calculator. We're going to use the example of $100,000 because I actually did recently see something that most PAs have over $100,000 in student loan debt while graduating. So we're going to put in $100,000. My interest rate is extremely high, unfortunately. So I'm going to use my interest rate, which was 7.5%. And I'm going to do a 10-year loan term because that would be how long the loan forgiveness term is. And a minimum payment, $1,000 a month. Calculate. So what this calculated for me was a monthly loan payment of $1,187 over a 10-year period. Now, look at the cumulative payment here and the total interest paid. Because I have high interest, it's going to be a high number. The cumulative payment is what you want to look at. If your financial situation allows you to pay the loan calculated amount, granted this is an estimate, and also side note, I am not in any way, shape, or form a financial advisor, so definitely seek advice from your financial advisor. I'm just giving you my experience with this. If you can afford to pay the monthly payment on a loan that you've just calculated here, then I would say go for it, do that, take that option. Look at the cumulative payment, right? So over time, I would pay, if this were my loan at $100,000 and the 7.5% interest rate, I would pay about $142,000 in the end after 10 years of payments. I say everyone's situation is different because in the loan forgiveness program, you're on that income-based repayment plan. Let's say you graduate as a PA and you want to work in family medicine, which tends to be one of the lower paying specialties, unfortunately. And you're making $90,000 a year. I'm estimating here, but I think your monthly payment would maybe be around $700-800 a month. Based on what they've calculated my loan repayments at, over 10 years, your payment, if your income were to stay at $90,000, I'm guessing would probably be around like $700 to $800 a month. Also keep in mind that your income is probably going to increase, right? Most people get raises. Your payment is going to increase over time. But so let's just say that your monthly payment on average over a 10-year period is about $800 a month. That's about $96,000. So yes, you're going to be paying much less over the course of 10 years. However, one of the pros to not going into the PSLF program is that if you set yourself up for a 10-year repayment plan with a private loan servicer or even the same government loan servicer, you're guaranteed to have paid that off after 10 years. Whereas with PSLF, you're really taking a chance. Over the same amount of that 10-year span, you're paying much less, but your forgiveness is not guaranteed, at least not yet, based on that 2 to 5% forgiveness rate. Besides how much you're going to get paid in your job, you also need to think about all of your other expenses. So for me, I had a high rent because I lived in New York City, and I had a pretty low rent, but it's Manhattan, so it's still high. I also had those private loans I had to think about, right? And, the regular stuff, food, transportation, things like that. With my budget, I opted into the program because my student loan debt was so astronomically high. It made sense for me. It still does make sense for me. Could I be on another program where my loan payment had been higher? Yes, but I would have been scraping by, and I wasn't willing to do that at that time. But at this point, with all the calculations I've done with my government loans versus my private loans, I still think PSLF was the right choice for me, praying that I get forgiven in 3 years. You also have to think about how much money you're going to be forgiven after those years, right? People come to me all the time saying, oh, I'm signing up for PSLF. I'm working in a hospital and I'm doing this and it's going to be great. My loans will be forgiven. But a lot of these people have pretty low loan balances. If you have a low loan balance, it does not make sense to go into the public service loan forgiveness program unless, I guess, you're really strapped for cash and you're really in a tough financial situation and there's just no way you can make your loan payment that you've been approved for. I get that. That makes sense. Let's go back to our loan calculator here. We're going to go $40,000. We're going to go to the same interest rate, 7.5%, 10-year loan term. Minimum payment, I don't know, let's just say $300. Calculate. For a total of $40,000 loan, this loan calculator is calculating a monthly payment of $474 for 120 payments, which is 10 years. And all in all, you will be paying $56,000. Now, if you think about loan forgiveness, the difference is your payment may be lower than $474,000. Your payment may be lower than $474 a month because maybe your income is very low. So let's say they calculate you as in the income-based repayment plan for about $400 a month instead of that $474, because they're probably not going to calculate much less than that because you're probably not going to be making very little. And this is based on salaries in the healthcare field, let's say nursing. In the end, if they decide to forgive your loans after 10 years, you will have paid a total of a little over $48,000. Now, that's only $8,000 less than what you would have paid if you had just consolidated with a different company. And right now, interest rates are so low that going into PSLF does not make sense if you have a loan on the lower side. Go get that low interest rate, take advantage of it, maybe pay a couple $1,000s extra over the course of the 10 years, but at least you're guaranteed that that loan will be paid off. Just be careful with this program because all you might need to do is pay a little bit more every month to have your loans completely paid off, guaranteed in 10 years. You are not guaranteed loan forgiveness. And in the end, there won't even be that much to forgive. So what's the point? Let's move on to my tips because this program is not so easy to navigate. It has gotten a lot better over the past couple years, but let me tell you in the beginning, oh my gosh, it was painful. Tip number 1, keep records of literally everything. Print everything out that they send you, print all of your forms out that you have signed every year, everything. This was so crucial. I actually was in a position a couple years ago where I switched jobs. I needed my previous employer to sign a form for the loans that I was paying back while I was working for them. For some reason, they were refusing to sign this form, even though they had signed it in the past. It was very odd. There was a point where I went to HR and they locked me out. It was like so weird. I felt like a criminal or something. But anyway, the way I got them to sign the form was that I had luckily saved all the information from when they had signed the forms in the past, found the woman's information who had signed my form. Luckily, she was still working at the hospital. Her number was written on one of the forms that I copied, and I called her directly and explained the situation, and I got my form filled out. If I had not, I would have lost almost 30 payments. Luckily, I got those payments back, but it was a hassle, and thank God I saved all my forms and letters and everything. Just so you know, every year you must fill out a new form. They will send you reminder emails to reapply for the income-based repayment plan as well. So remember how I was talking about how people's income changes? If I got all of a sudden like a $50,000 raise, they're not going to keep my payment the same. They make you reapply every year, they check your income, and they change your payment. Make sure you do this, because if not, the payment will just automatically roll into a non-income based plan, which means you are not eligible for loan forgiveness. That is tip number 2. Make sure every year you're reapplying for your income-based repayment plan so that you make sure that you're still in that plan and you're eligible for loan forgiveness. And tip number 3, make sure every year you have your employer sign an employment verification form. This is extremely important. Without this form, the payments will never count. I do this every year because then my forgiveness status is more up to date. Tip number 4, I think I'm on board. Make sure that your employer qualifies. If you plan on changing jobs, or if you haven't gotten hired yet, but you know you will benefit from the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, make sure your employer qualifies. I did say that most hospitals do qualify, but always double check. Also, what I've done was I've actually contacted HR before I've accepted the job and double checked that they would 100% fill out my form. And I got that in an email written form. That way I had evidence of them saying they would fill out the form in case there was ever any discrepancies down the road. And tip number And tip number 5, make sure you sign up for your FedLoan website, create your account if you don't have it already, and check it often. There have been so many mistakes that I have found, and luckily I caught on to it because I do this every year where I check on all my payments, and I fixed that. However, I did lose out on some payments still because I didn't catch it soon enough. I'm so parched. To wrap up, let's go over a few things. First and most importantly, make sure you qualify. That means you work full-time, you work for a nonprofit or another government organization that qualifies. You make 120 on-time payments, and you are an income-based repayment plan. Second, keep records of everything. You already know how important this is if you watch this video. I promise you, you'll thank me. Third thing, make sure you're reapplying for your income-based repayment plan annually. And finally, do the math. Does it even make sense for you? How much will you be forgiven in the end? Is that worth it for a possible denial of forgiveness? Personally, I don't think so. Now, I want to stress the importance of government here. Unfortunately, yes, this has become a political issue. I guess it's always been a political issue, but now the Biden administration finally just announced that they're trying to do something about it. We hope. Click that link in the video description below. It's going to take you to a website where you can contact the Department of Education and tell them your experience with student loan debt and the loan forgiveness program. If I had known this was going to happen 7 years ago when I started repaying, I might not have signed up for this program, but who knows? As we know, especially from social media, our voices do matter. So please, if you have a story, go out there and tell it to the Department of Education. That way, hopefully, we have a fix by the end of this year. I hope you found this video helpful. It's one of the things that I'm most passionate about. Obviously, it has to do with my money, so I'm naturally passionate about it. I hope this helps some of you navigate whether or not to join this program, and maybe it gives you a little more insight into your student loan debt. If you have any questions, let me know. Type them in the comments, and please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like the content so far. I'm going to be doing a lot more about the PA profession and maybe some more loan stuff if you guys want along the way to help you out. Give me a follow on TikTok and Instagram. I'm definitely most active on TikTok. I'm going to be uploading videos weekly. I'm going to do my best to stay on schedule, so you guys can expect a video from me a week. And if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see, also comment those below. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. I went for the all-natural look this time. I look so shiny. Somebody teach me how to do this. I can't talk anymore. Catch you later.